Non, on n'est pas parti.
Et
interpreters have not gone, but we are exhausted, and so we're going to make two announcements. This was not a joke. With Joan Colom, we have the hope and the dream. For a long time now, we've been dreaming of doing an ATHS, an annual ATHS meeting, 1 year in Sitges next to Barcelona and the next year in Biarritz. Of course, we do not have the capacity with this small team without agencies. We have done everything together with a limited team, not a professional team of organizers, but they are enthusiastic, which allows us to have more resources. So therefore, to have a yearly ATHS, even as participants, we would like there to be one every year. When you actually have to do it, it is difficult to do, but it would be a good formula because we could talk about the north of Europe and the south of Europe and combine the two. So that is a first idea, and we will actively work to do that. And then we have our networks in Paris, Bernard Kouchner, and the European links could all be a means for funding of such a project. So also, apart from that, you've been able to see that for the first time, therefore, in France, in ATHS, we've had sessions dedicated to dual pathologies. In the World Psychiatric Association, there is an association for dual pathologies, dual disorders, and the problem is dual diagnosis, addiction, psychiatric disorders. And so this association was presided by Professor Reith from Houston. And he's also former president of the American Psychiatric Association and the World Psychiatric Association. So this dual pathology association was promoted by our Spanish friends and by Professor Miguel Casas, particularly, who was here with us today. And they've asked us, for the French, to think about setting up a group around that. And so, therefore, with Amin Belyamina and with our kites, with his help, we're going to make efforts to structure that group in order to be able to, perhaps, for June, with Albatross, to set up more formally, dare I say, a French society for dual pathologies. And so these addictologists, psychiatrists are interested in that, and all of those who are interested in that approach, knowing that France has had a lot of success in the field of the strengthening of substitution treatments and their accessibility. And they've been able to combine an adaptability of city medicine and availability of metropolitan medicine. And all of this success has been enabled by the generous nature of solidarity of sickness benefit in France, which gives unique access on the opioid crisis was mentioned greatly by the people who have spoken here. Is also due to a great extent to the fact that the people who have substance disorders have considered that maximum 15% have a maximum, because of medical and economic reasons, no more than 15% have access to them, whereas in France it's 85%. And so that is also an important element for prevention of complications, of risks, of harm. And so it is important, therefore, to be able to now to care and to look at the things that can limit our success in the future, but there's a lot to do that, and those limitations come in psychiatric comorbidities, and in France, like in other countries, we still have a lot of work to do. So we think that this approach will be able to, together with a context of a world association with partnerships with other countries with a little bit more advanced than us in this approach, and that we hope it'll be useful and to be able to deal with that pathology for the patient. So there's a lot of things left to do. So 2 years is a long time, but it also goes by very quickly. But I hope that you have had an interesting stay and a useful stay here, and that you've learned things. And I hope particularly that you've been able to have some exchanges. I think, well, our project, if we could say it in neurobiological terms, it is that ATHS should be a place where getting into contact with scientific data at a high level, very high level sometimes, it's not necessarily immediately attractive in this context of fraternity and of meeting. Finally, this may stimulate brain, and therefore scientific progress will benefit for people who are suffering with these pathologies. And we do what we are able to do, and we're very pleased to see you and welcome you once more. I would also like to thank very much. I'm talking, but we should all talk, but I'm a little bit tired. And I don't feel like talking very much, but nevertheless, I am talking. And important work has been done, particularly this year, by our kites, helped by Virginie and Cecilia, who have temporarily left us now, to do a mission, perhaps the noble mission, which is to give life to a newborn. But they have worked wonderfully of classifying, of sorting, of making proposals, of communicating through posters with presentations and workshops, and the combination, imperfect combination, but this attempt of combining sciences, and there are speakers of an international standing, can also be together with these workshops and symposiums and with patients when they work out on the field, and users, and everybody can participate in this exchange and in this exchange of know-how and interact in a pleasant way. That is what we are trying to do. Well, now we will, of course, try to continue with this, but those of you here, I'm saying this because we have to make a conclusion, but we all know each other. We are a family, after all. We all know each other. ATHS also is, everybody puts their hands into in the kitchen to give a hand. So thank you also to all the people, and many of them are here, who have participated to set up the program, to participate. Well, I hope perhaps next year, maybe next year in Barcelona, and in any case, in 2 years' time, back here in Biarritz. And thank you once more. And just one word to say also thank you to Jean Pierre Daulouède, because he can't say it himself, for his investment, the time invested, and we hope that he will continue for the coming years. Have a good journey back. Be careful. use the rules of risk reduction, harm reduction, and keeping control. Thank you.